Annie stood in front of the mirror, her mind racing as she stared at her greasy locks. She had been dreading this date for weeks, knowing that her love life was a mess and her hair was always a disaster. But tonight was different. She had really pulled out all the stops to look her best. She had spent hours getting ready, carefully applying her makeup and styling her hair into a sleek updo. But now, just as her date was about to arrive, she realized that it was all for naught. Her hair was still oily and flat, refusing to cooperate no matter how much hairspray she used. In desperation, Annie reached for an unlikely solution, a tablecloth. She quickly wrapped it around her hair, hoping to at least temporarily conceal the oil slick on top of her scalp. As she fiddled with the fabric, she couldn't help but feel like she was about to embark on some sort of bizarre cosplay adventure. Nevertheless, she was determined to salvage what could still be saved and emerge from this mess looking passable, if not exactly picture perfect. With a deep breath, Annie strode out of her bathroom, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The small, cramped apartment was dimly lit, the only light coming from the flickering overhead bulb and the glow of her phone screen. The walls were painted a dull gray, and the furniture was minimalist and functional, a small kitchen area with a sink, stove, and fridge, as well as a bathroom with a shower, but no bathtub. Annie had always loved this apartment, despite its lack of character. It was her own little sanctuary in the bustling city, a place where she could retreat from the chaos and just be herself. But tonight, as she stood in front of the mirror, it felt more like a prison than a sanctuary. She couldn't believe that she had let her hair get this out of control, again. And now, with her date about to arrive, she was stuck with this ridiculous-looking tablecloth on her head, praying that no one would notice how pathetic she looked. Just as Annie was about to give up all hope, there was a knock at the door. Her heart skipped a beat as she opened it, revealing a tall, handsome man with a charming smile and piercing blue eyes. "Hey, you look amazing," he said, his voice dripping with sincerity. "I mean, I've never seen anyone pull off a tablecloth quite like that before." Annie rolled her eyes good-naturedly, trying to play it cool, despite the fact that she was secretly melting into a puddle of embarrassment. "Thanks, I guess," she said, gesturing for him to come in. As they sat down on the couch, Annie couldn't help but feel like this was going to be a long night. But to her surprise, her date was kind and understanding, laughing at all her jokes and making her feel like she was the most interesting person in the world. As the night wore on, Annie found herself relaxing more and more, forgetting about her hair and the tablecloth and just enjoying his company. They talked about everything from their jobs — he was a software engineer, she was a writer — to their shared love of old movies, to their wildest dreams and fears. And as the clock struck midnight, Annie realized that this was the most fun she had had on a date in years. But just as things were starting to get interesting, disaster struck. As they were walking back to her apartment, Annie felt a sudden gust of wind blow through the city's streets, sending her tablecloth flying into a nearby dumpster. She watched in horror as her makeshift hairdo was destroyed, leaving her with a messy rat's nest of hair and an even greater sense of embarrassment. Her date, however, just laughed and took her hand. "Don't worry about it," he said, his voice filled with kindness. "I like you just the way you are, tablecloth and all." And with that, Annie knew that she had found someone special, someone who could see past her flaws and love her for who she really was. As they walked back to her apartment, hand in hand, Annie couldn't help but feel grateful for this unexpected adventure, and the chance to find true love in the most unlikely of places.